Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. Today we're heading to Modern to check out this super sweet Abzan Blink deck, which recently took Magic Online user Stool to a 5-0 finish in a competitive Modern League. So congrats to Stool on their finish with the deck. Quick reminder before we break it all down, if you enjoy this deck and want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So let's talk about Abzan Blink in Modern. So Abzan Blink is the revival of Siege Rhino. It may not be in Standard anymore, but it is still super powerful. Actually, while Siege Rhino is the key piece of the deck, and probably the best card in the deck, the whole idea of the deck is to play creatures that like to be blinked, so like exile them, return them to the battlefield under your control to take advantage of enter the battlefield abilities. Siege Rhino is the poster child. When it enters the battlefield, it drains for 3. You gain 3 life, your opponent loses 3 life, plus it's a big body. So if you get in a little bit of incidental damage and you can blink Siege Rhino a bunch of times, you can kind of drain your opponent out 3 at a time while keeping your life total high. Kitchen Finks doesn't do any damage to your opponent, but it does gain you some life, and it's a good on-curve 3-drop. Wall of Omens draws you a card every time you blink it, so you get a lot of value that way. And Stonehorn Dignitary is an old standard trick. It keeps you from getting attacked, because when it enters the battlefield, your opponent has to skip their next combat step. So if you can blink this repeatedly, you keep your opponent from ever attacking you, really, and it's a good defensive body. So part 1 of Abzan Blink is creatures with enter the battlefield abilities. Then you have a bunch of ways of actually blinking these creatures. First off, Restoration Angel. So you have your Siege Rhino on the battlefield, you can cast your Restoration Angel, a good evasive body with flash. When it enters the battlefield, you blink your Siege Rhino, get to drain again, or draw another card with Wall or Omen. So much value. Flicker Wisp is slightly less effective because it doesn't have flash, but it still does the blinking. Well, actually, Flicker Wisp flickers. Instead of returning the card to the battlefield immediately, it does so at the end of turn. But in some ways, that's better. If your opponent has an Ensnaring Bridge and you want to get in an attack, you can flicker away the Ensnaring Bridge, attack, it comes back end of turn, but you still get it in your attack step. And then Eerie Interlude is the craziest. So Eerie Interlude can flicker everything. You exile any number of creatures you choose and return them at your end step. Well, the crazy part is, say you have a Siege Rhino, 2 Restoration Angels, and a Flicker Wisp. Siege Rhino comes back along with everything else. You get the drain trigger from Siege Rhino. Well, you target it with the Restoration Angel, so you flicker it, and so forth. So you can get multiple triggers off of this. So that's kind of the big payoff for this deck. So when everything comes back in, you're going to draw extra cards with Wall of Omens, but draw 2 extra cards because you can also blink it or flicker it, get more drain triggers with Siege Rhino, reset your Kitchen Finks. So much value. Then the deck also has a plan of Ether Vial, so kind of the idea is you get Ether Vial up to 4. Along the way, you can get some value by putting stuff at various converted mana costs into play, but once you have it sitting on 4, you can put in the Siege Rhino for free, cast a White Mane Lion for 2 mana, bounce the Siege Rhino back to your hand, put in the Siege Rhino for free, or you cast your Siege Rhino using all your mana, and then you can use the Ether Vial to put in a Restoration Angel, which also costs 4 to flicker the Siege Rhino. It gets all out of control. Eternal Witness can kind of do the same thing, but from the graveyard. So your Siege Rhino dies in combat, you get it back with Eternal Witness, you can Vial it right in it immediately. Gets out of control really fast. The rest of the deck, pretty straightforward. Birds of Paradise just helps you ramp into things, and Path to Exile for removal. In the mana base, get a bunch of fetches, some shock lands, some basic lands, and then Stirring Wildwoods as a creature lands, Horizon Canopy, can draw you a card if you flood out, and then Razor Verge Thicket, just an untapped source in the early turns. Sideboard-wise, there's a bunch of cool Silver Bullet blink targets. So Orzhov Pontiff, when it enters the battlefield, it either gives all your creatures +1/+1, or all your opponent's creatures -1/-1. So you can wipe out a bunch of Lingering Souls tokens or Goblin tokens, or you can pump up your team for a big attack. Reclamation Sage kills an artifact or enchantment. so you can blink that to get rid of a bunch of affinity threats or whatever. Sim Collector, so good in control matchups, takes an instant or sorcery, takes another one when you flicker it or blink it, and then Thragtusk and Restoration Angel are best friends. You gain 5 life, then you blink it with Resto, get a 3/3 beast, gain 5 more life. It goes way out of control, and it just shuts down aggro decks really well. Then some removal and engineered explosives, Abrupt Decay, and Golgari Charm. Rest in Peace to hate on the graveyard. Eidolon of Rhetoric to help against combo decks. And that is Abzan Blink for Modern. Anyway, that's been today's Instant Deck Tech. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.